Welcome, everyone. My name is Bryson Terrell. I'm an engineer for Jamf, and today I'm going to be giving a presentation discussing the API ecosystem, which is a new term that you may not have heard before. And part of it actually comes from JNUC 2021, where I gave a presentation about a concept that we were exploring called the Jamf App Platform. So I think it's only right to kick things off here with a recap of what I discussed in 2021 to lay the foundation for what I'm going to be discussing here today. After that, I'm going to get into some of the current state of APIs across Jamf's ecosystem. I'm going to discuss the API ecosystem vision and what this whole initiative is really all about. And then lastly, I'm going to wrap up with what is the progress that we have made in the past year since JNUC 2021 on this initiative. So going back to 2021, I gave a short presentation discussing the Jamf App Platform Concept. This session focused on the third-party developer experience when working really with the Jamf Pro API and the customer experience when they go to leverage these third-party solutions that integrate into the product. I contrasted the experience of today with what we would aspire to and what I believed it would take to get there. So touching on those developer and customer experiences, developers need a whole lot of documentation in order to communicate to Jamf admins like what they need to do, creating service accounts, creating resources, how to set up the Jamf Pro environment for the application that they built. In some cases, developers have written their own code to perform those operations, but that requires elevated privileges beyond what the application may need for normal operations. There's also a complexity piece where developers, they're actually owning the entire lifecycle for the provisioning and deprovisioning of Jamf customers for their integrations. There's no defined standard or system for them to tie into, so everyone just does the best they can. This leads into, of course, varying customer experiences when it comes from one integration to Jamf Pro to another. Some might be really streamlined, others might require support tickets or following extensive documentation. A varying customer experience means that it just varies how you're going to actually implement some of these solutions. At the end of that presentation, I had a list of key concepts that I believed were what it was going to take to improve the experience, both for third parties building on top of our APIs, as well as for our customers taking advantage of what they've delivered. The top one, of course, is standardization. Developers should all be using a defined standard when it comes to building integrations on top of our platform. And then customers get the benefit of a consistent experience when they go to leverage them. A unified API gateway, which doesn't seem like it would be a key piece of this up front, but having all public Jamf APIs available in one location using the same authentication scheme would greatly simplify the experience across the board on both sides. And of course, as always, an improved developer experience would also be key. Customers and partners would really benefit from a holistic approach to working with Jamf APIs and understanding Jamf APIs, as well as leveraging them, than some of what we have in place today. And then lastly, the concept of events, an evolution of how we have done webhooks with an automated and managed pub sub system. That's actually a first party or a first class citizen, I should say, to the entire application concept. So that's talking about what I did in JNUC 2021. So let's talk about the current state of things. What is the status of the Jamf platform when it comes to APIs? Well, today we have products, and each product implements its own API, and there's really nothing else going on there. Everyone has their own spec. Everybody has a bit of their own design language, and everybody has their own way of interacting with their API. So each product has different ways of doing it. This is very apparent when it comes to the authentication scheme. Jamf Pro, so for today, Jamf Pro, basic auth to a token endpoint gets you a bearer token. You still need a user or service account in order with the exact privileges needed granted to that user to the range of objects that Jamf Pro has inside it. These privileges don't necessarily map one-to-one to the APIs in use, but there's documentation about what you need to do in order to do certain operations on our developer portal. So that's Jamf Pro. Jamf School is a little simpler. It is basic authentication, but with an API key that you generate that gives you access to the data that's within your Jamf School instance. And it can be limited to just granting writing, editing, or deleting operations, but that's about the extent of it. Protect does use a OAuth 2 client credentials flow. So if you want to use the Protect API, you generate a client and you get an ID and a secret, and you authenticate with those in order to get a bearer token, and you use that in order to interact with those APIs. So 3 different products, 3 completely different ways of actually authenticating to the APIs that they implement. So on top of the various products that we have that implement their own APIs, Jamf does have 3 different MDM solutions in our portfolio. All 3 of these provide interfaces and workflows for Apple device management for different verticals. Verticals is probably the wrong word, but they all implement core functionality differently on top of that. So it's not just the user interface. Every single one of these implements inventory. Every single one of these implements MDM. Each change, enhancement, or feature from Apple has to be worked on 3 times by 3 different teams every year. So there's a lot of opportunity here to make things better by making it so that we only have to do it once, and it's leveraged across the entire portfolio. Now, cloud services for Jamf Pro through the cloud services connection, this kind of gets into that. It provides shared capabilities for Jamf Pro instances. They're cloud hosted, they're multi-tenanted, but they're only accessed by the application. They're not directly accessed by administrators or third-party developers. Now, Title Editor does have a public API, but it's under a separate authentication scheme from Jamf Pro. So it is sort of its own system off on the side that Jamf Pro integrates with. So that's the current state. Now I want to walk you through our vision of what we're building in order to change some of this. And that is our platform of the future, the API ecosystem. It's the beginning of a transition from product-centric features to APIs that are based on shared capabilities that everything in the Jamf portfolio actually can take advantage of, as well as our third parties. This is, quite frankly, an embodiment of our desire to be API first, which we have talked about a lot over the years. This starts with our unified API gateways. All public Jamf APIs living at one location using access tokens issued through OAuth 2 authorization. One authentication scheme in order to access every API that we have available. Now, each one of those APIs, the desire is that they are owned by a team at Jamf, and that team is responsible for that API. All of our APIs will follow a common style guide and data model that ensures a consistent experience from one to the other. As admins are building automations or third parties are building integrations, it won't feel like you're moving between completely different systems when using these different APIs. They should provide a cohesive experience. Events. Events are going to become a first-class citizen of this new ecosystem. In Jamf Pro, webhooks are an admin configurable resource for delivering system events like device inventory updates or Smart Group membership changes to a target over HTTPS. Not only will we be able to enable event-driven design between APIs and systems at Jamf, but we are also going to be able to make these available to third parties. So Enabling event-driven flows means that we could eliminate the need for polling patterns or even callbacks to APIs because enough context is being delivered when something actually occurs. Now, that quick overview slide might have you wondering, like you, the audience, why does this matter to you? Well, as we build out our APIs, they're going to be focused on capabilities. I used that word previously. And a capability would be something that can be leveraged across the entire Jamf platform and not just one product. This cuts down on time spent on duplicative efforts within our organization. And as we make improvements to those APIs, those are just immediately available to everyone. Standardizing our APIs means that they all use a common style and syntax for requests and responses. Even though they provide different capabilities, every API at Jamf should feel and behave similarly. In fact, if you go to developer.jamf.com today, you can see our API style guide for yourself. It was made open and published up there. One of the requirements in our style guide is that every single API uses the OpenAPI 3 spec for documentation purposes. So standardization coming out of the gate here, documentation should be better and more informative for our customers and third-party developers. With all of our new APIs living in a shared ecosystem, it's suddenly opening up the Lego effect, where any team can start building a new capability or a new integration that uses existing functionality, and then core functionality doesn't need to be re-implemented in a project as it already exists and is available through an API. This also leads to the idea that if we wanted to experiment with something or build out prototypes, because they can exist sort of out on their own and not tied into a larger code base, it allows for more rapid experimentation. We can get through ideas and get them out the door and into your hands faster. So hand in hand with this, we're going to need to improve our developer experience. The first thing that's really on board for this is a new developer portal. Now, today's developer portal provides great documentation about the Jamf APIs that exist in our products. The new developer portal will be providing an enhanced experience where you can manage access to our APIs for your applications or integrations. You can manage the event subscriptions, where those events are delivered, manage links to relevant documentation. All these things existing right inside a friendly and easy to use user interface. A fully documented experience ties back to one of the standards that we have where every API at Jamf will have an OpenAPI 3 spec behind it. All the new APIs will have their docs available alongside existing product API documentation, so you still have one place to go in order to actually read up about all of this, and it will be rendered in a way that you're familiar with right now on developer.jamf.com, so that you can just dive right into experimenting. You can also look forward to seeing more quick start and user guides to supplement those API references as we move forward. And again, hammering this point across, standardization. It's not just about a standard way of building an API or a standard way of building an integration on top of our APIs. It's also about standardizing the way that we all use them and manage our applications that do consume them. So Jamf teams are going to be using the same APIs and events just as our customers and partners would. By constantly using our own developer tools, we will constantly iterate on them and improve them, and everybody will reap the benefits of this. Now, this initiative is a big change, and it is moving Jamf into a different direction where it has been before. And there needs to be a path for everybody who has built all these great utilities and integrations on top of the existing Pro and School APIs and Protect APIs to move into this new era. So existing applications and integrations are going to have a path to migrate from the current product API model to this new one. And it's to ensure continuity, because you've already built a lot of great features and functionality. You don't really want to do a lot of work in order to take advantage of anything that's new coming down the pipe. So we want to streamline that process and make it easier for you to lift and shift your application and then take advantage of new capabilities as they come online. You can look forward to hearing more about that in 2023. So all of this will lead into some potential for where we can take the marketplace once this is all in place. The integrations being built into the new developer portal would have a path to being listed into the marketplace after having undergone a review process at Jamf. This was touched on as a goal of the Jamf App Platform Concept presentation from 2021. We're still very much looking into this, and it is something that we would like to do. Hand in hand with that is the one-click install idea, where you add functionality onto you as the Jamf customer, add functionality straight from the marketplace, know what you're granting access to third parties. Jamf can handle all the automation behind enabling it. So us taking ownership of that customer lifecycle process and not leaving it up to third parties. The ability to buy additional functionality on the marketplace using the same billings used for any other Jamf product, lots of potential here. It is also something that we are very much exploring. All right, so I'm going to now cap this off and talk a little bit about some of the progress that we've made in pursuing the API ecosystem vision that we just went through. One thing is that there was an entirely new team put up inside Jamf just for this initiative, and it's dedicated to it. I was the first member of this team back in September of 2021. By the time some of you might have watched that presentation about the app platform, we were already underway with starting the work. We've been adding additional engineers and supporting roles to this team since then. This team, as well as the platform teams that are going to be responsible for new APIs that we are servicing, those teams will all continue to expand from here on. And in the meanwhile, we have other teams at Jamf already at work building out new APIs that are going to fit into this model that I've described. They will serve both internal use cases and capabilities as well as product-focused ones. And for the most part, this is going to be internal for a while. But then we will start adding more public APIs into this ecosystem going forward. And you can expect to hear more about that as we continue to iterate. So this is a glimpse behind the curtains at our platform of the future. The API ecosystem is something that I personally have wanted for many years, going back to when I was the Casper admin here at Jamf. Something that tied together my desire to build add-on functionality, but in a way that was much more streamlined and was able to be shared with others in the Mac admins community as well. This is something that will grow and evolve for years to come. You can expect to hear more from me and others about our roadmap in the coming months. It's a journey with many steps along the way, but I hope that after today, you share my excitement for all the possibilities to come. Do note that this is a journey, as I just said. Your feedback and feedback from our partners will help shape this roadmap along the way. So please reach out to us and let us know. Thank you very much for joining me here today, and I hope you have a great JNUC.